So today I'm going to go through a rather unusual new type of question that's come up, and I'll do another short video with a very similar question. Now these look very similar, and actually they're answered in a very similar way to some fairly standard CRP5 questions, fairly standard flight computer questions. So you're given the wind velocity, and you're given, in this case, the true heading. But instead of being given the true airspeed, as would usually be the case, you're given the ground speed and then asked for the true track and true airspeed. This is this is actually calculated in very much the same way as a question where you're given the true airspeed and asked for the ground speed instead. But the wind mark, instead of giving you the ground speed, instead of setting the true airspeed on the center mark and using the wind mark to find the ground speed, we're going to set the wind mark on the ground speed and use the center of the CRP5 or the flight computer slide to find the true airspeed. Okay. So as usual, if we know the wind, we're going to put the wind in first. So here I've selected a convenient spot on the CRP5 for the center mark, and I'm going to turn the heading mark at the top to 308. Sorry, there you go, 308 at the top. And obviously wind down method, we're going to mark down. We had 32 knots of wind from 308. So I'm going to mark down 32 knots. So we got 10, 20, 32 knots below the center. Okay, so this is the, of course, this is a wind down method. So it says true heading at the top. So the next thing we can do is to set the true heading at the top. And the true heading was given in the question as 340. So there you go, there's the true heading. And now we've got the wind mark here, and that would usually tell us the drift and the ground speed, but we've been given a ground speed of 128 knots. So we've got to move the slide until that is on 128 knots. Sorry about the slight stuttering of this. Okay. I just want to get it as close as possible. Right, so yeah, that's on close to 128 knots. Yeah, so we've got 128 knots on the wind mark because the wind mark is for the ground speed. Yeah, the wind mark is on the ground speed, and the ground speed was 128 knots. So it's unusual for them to give us the ground speed. Sorry, the focus isn't very good on this. That's better. Okay. So now what we've got to look at, we can answer the question now. So the first thing is that we've got a drift of about 7 degrees starboard. Okay, it's actually about 7.5, but I'm going to call it 7 degrees starboard. And we can either just look at this, say 340 heading, 7 degrees starboard drift is going to give us 347, or we can again use the good markings on the CRP5 where it says drift starboard, and we've got 7 degrees of starboard drift giving 347 as the track. So remember, track is always against your drift mark. True heading is at the top. That's why it says true heading. This is why I prefer the CRP5 to some of its competitors, which maybe say index at the top. For the wind down method, we'll always have true heading at the top, and the drift against the track against the drift mark. And so 7 degrees starboard drift. And the center mark is giving us the TAS, and it looks like about 153 knots in this case. So we have a TAS of 153 and a track of 347. TAS equals 153 knots. And so that's how we answer this question. So most of it was, as you see, was identical to the type of question where we're, instead of being given the ground speed, we're given the TAS, and then obviously we're asked for the ground speed. That's a much more common type of question that's been in the question bank since the beginning. But this just reverses the speeds, gives you the ground speed instead, and asks you for the TAS. Notice it's not any more difficult. It's actually a very straightforward question. It's just odd, and so I can imagine a lot of students get confused by it. Okay, and if in the future electronic flight computers are again allowed, it might well be that this is impossible on an electronic flight computer. I can't imagine that the flight computer will be programmed to answer this question. So there we have it. Thank you very much, guys. I'll do another short video with a very similar question where we're given a track and asked for the heading. But that's it for this video.